Hey. I guess that's gonna be my intro. Okay, so still October, obviously. I'm still in the Halloween spirit. And if y'all know me, I am so into like the forensic files, creepy, serial killer, scary, documentary, or usually documentary. Since I watch all of those shows, you know, I've seen a lot and a lot and a lot. I saw this one on, they called him the Weepy Voiced Killer. You'll see why, and you'll see why this is literally probably the creepiest I've ever seen. So I'll just start right into it. So it was in the 80s in Minnesota, like the Twin Cities. So this woman named Karen Pollock, she was just celebrating on New Year's Eve with her sister and her friends. So of course, you know, what do you do on New Year's Eve? You get drunk. And it was snowing outside, of course. It was cold, and she was drunk, and she started to like wander. You know, people, well, nowadays it's a lot more like, you know, get a buddy, don't let your friends leave, and that's how it always should have been. But since this was like in 1980, I guess they didn't do that. So she just wandered off, and the next thing, the friends and the sister knew at like 1 in the morning that she was gone. She ended up getting her way into like an alleyway, and there was this man that saw her. What he says is, she was cold, I gave her a jacket, and I, you know, basically just offered her a ride home. Yeah, right. So she gets into the car. 2 hours later, the police gets a phone call. And this is what I'm talking about, how creepy it is.
Yes, please, this is an emergency. Please send a squad to Pierce Butler Road, Molenberg Manufacturing Company, machine shop. Please, there's an ambulance too. There's a girl hurt there.
Can you tell me what happened to her?
Just hurry, she's laying on the ground in the back by the railroad tracks, by the edge here. Hurry.
What's the address?
I don't know.
Who are you?
Freaking weird, right? Yeah. So that was like at 3 a.m. So the cops go to the manufacturing facility that he was talking about. They found her on a snow embankment, naked, face down, and she was attacked with a tire iron. She was beaten so bad. They took her to the hospital. Of course, she couldn't remember anything. I mean, the beating was so bad. How can you remember that? Anything after that? But she's alive, and that's amazing. Of course, they had no witnesses. There's no DNA evidence left. And since she couldn't, you know, pick out who her, or even describe who attacked her, it was kind of just left cold. So just 5 months later, on June 3rd, 1981, this came into the cops.
Oh, you find me? I just stabbed somebody with an ice pick. I can't stop myself. I keep killing somebody.
Hello? Are you there?
And so that didn't give any kind of direction of where the body could be. Of course, they didn't have anywhere to go. Teenagers just walking down like an unfinished highway found a body. They found the body of Kimberly Compton. She was stabbed 61 times with an ice pick. She was also strangled. They did find out, though, that the strangulation wasn't the cause of death. It was the actual stab wounds. Now, Kimberly, she had just graduated high school. She wanted a new start. She had just actually packed up and came to St. Paul on a Greyhound bus. She put her stuff in a locker, and then she actually saw a diner across the street called Mickey's Diner. So she wanted to go get a bite to eat, and that's what she did. She sat down, ate by herself. A few other people in the diner too. There's one other man in the diner eating by himself as well. So he decided to approach Kimberly. They just started talking about life, and then he apparently asked her what she was doing there, and just, casual conversation. And she admitted that she had just moved there, So he asked, he's like, why don't I just take you out on the town and, show you around? So they finished up what they were eating and they left together. And then just a few hours later, they received another phone call.
Don't talk, just listen. I'm sorry what I did to Compton. I couldn't help it. Don't know why I had to stab her. I am so upset about it. I keep getting drunk every night. I can't believe it. It's just like a big dream. I can't think of being locked up. If I get locked up, I'll kill myself. I'd rather kill myself than get locked up. I'll just try not to kill anybody else.
So after receiving that call, cops went over to the Greyhound bus station and they found her body. She had just been there for a matter of hours, so nobody knew who she was. Nobody knew where she was coming from. Nobody knew where she was going. So they had no idea. She had a key in her pocket, which was from the actual locker from the Greyhound bus. So that's what they did. Went to her locker. Oh, because she didn't have any ID on her body either. So no one knew who she was. So anyways, they go to the locker at the Greyhound station and figure out that it is actually Kimberly Compton. So since there was no evidence, no witnesses, no nothing, they did an autopsy on her. And they actually found out that in her stomach, she had beef and fries. And, that means she had just eaten, and since she didn't know anywhere to go, there was a special of, barbecue beef and fries at that Mickey's Diner that exact day that she passed. So they went over to Mickey's to decide to ask questions and see if anybody knew anything there. Asking all questions, of course, nothing came up with it. Just about 2 months after Kimberly Compton's murder, this man named Alan Lopez, he murdered his entire family. He had a standoff with the police, and during the standoff, he admitted to murdering Kimberly Compton. So after they got the standoff and all that under control, they took Lopez to a mental facility. They wanted to give him a few days to calm down, settle in. But just a few days later, after he got to the mental facility, he committed suicide. That's what I say when I say this case is crazy. This case just takes turns and turns and turns. So after doing more research, the cops did more research, and they actually figured out that Lopez was in jail the day that Kimberly had passed away. So since now the police, I always keep saying cops, the police department had linked the two murders together, Kimberly Compton's and Karen Pollock's, mainly because of the crazy ass voicemails that they were getting. But obviously that means if Lopez did not do Kimberly Compton's, he didn't do Karen's either. So they ruled Lopez is not a suspect. So August 6, 1982, they get another call.
Fire emergency.
Please don't talk, just listen. I'm sorry I killed that girl. I stabbed her 40 times. Kimberly Compton was the first one. Oh, my faith. I don't know what's the matter with me. I'm sick. I'm going to kill myself, I think.
Where are you?
I'm just going to... If somebody dies with a hook shit on, it's me. I killed both of them. I'm sorry. channel.
The next day, 40-year-old Barbara Simons was found, passed away. He tried to dispose of her body down the Mississippi River, and there was some like rubbish and bushes and sticks and stuff on the edge, and she got stuck up on there, and that's how she was found. This time, they released that call to the public to try to see if anybody knew the voice. Just come forward and just let someone know who that is and who is doing this to all of these women. They got a lot of leads. A lot of people thought it was people they knew, but nothing checked out. So after questioning around, they figured out she was at a bar. And she questioned, of course, the employees there. Everyone was saying that she was dancing and getting really close to a male that night. And it was right before the bar was about to close. And Barbara goes up to the waitress and says she wants another drink. And while she was making the drink, Barbara mentioned to her, and I quote, "I hope this is a nice guy. He's taking me home." It's just crazy how she kind of predicted it. So since she said that, the waitress definitely wanted to get a really good description. So she looked at the guy really well, and she wanted to just know exactly what he looked like. Since the waitress had told the cops that, the cops brought over 100, I think they said 160 something mugshots to her. She literally went through each and every one, just kept going, kept going, kept going. And one of the last mugshots that it was, she found him. She found the guy that was with Barbara that night at the bar. The man she pointed out was 38-year-old Paul Michael Stephani. He's actually suffered from mental illness before, and he had a previous conviction of aggravated assault. So after they get all this evidence from the waitress, obviously it's not enough to arrest him. So they put him, Stephani, I'm gonna call him, because that's just his last name. He doesn't need to get any more recognition than he's already getting. So anyways, they put him on 24-hour surveillance. Somehow, during the 24 hours, the cops lost him. I don't know how, but they lost him. It was the next day. So the cops kept up with him for a while. It was the following day, on August 21st, is where he actually was able to get away. And this is when he decides to go down to the like red light district of the area, and he went and picked up a prostitute. It was a 19-year-old girl named Denise Williams. And this girl's a true badass, I'm just gonna say that. So it was like this weird thing. She normally goes for like $100. He said he only had 40. They would go back to his house, or he would give her the 40, and then they'd go back to his house and he would give her the rest of the money. So she agreed to do that. She gets in the car, so they get to their house, or he does exactly what he said he was going to do. He gave her the other bit of money. Then he offered to actually like drive her back to where she normally stands outside, and she agreed. Now, you know, it's getting darker, so it's like pitch black out, and he's turning all these weird different directions, different streets, taking different streets, and she's like, "What way are you going?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm going the back way." Now, Denise had been on the streets since she was 13, okay? She knows all the back ways, and she knows that that was not the way that he was going, so she knew something was up. She knew she didn't have a weapon. Looking around in the car, she found a glass bottle in his car. So he goes down this dark road. I mean, there's houses and stuff, but it's a really pitch black dark road, and it's a dead end on the other side. He turns over to her and literally takes a screwdriver. I wish I had one, but here's a pumpkin carver. He literally turns to her and stabs her in the stomach with a screwdriver. So of course her reaction, she starts hitting him and he's stabbing her. So it's literally back and forth, blood everywhere. She says at one point that like the blood gets in her eyes and she opens it and all she really sees is like red blur. Oh my gosh, can you imagine that? She's hitting him, and throughout all the struggle, she gets the door open, she falls out of the car, but he falls on top of her, of course, and he's continuing to stab her with the darn screwdriver. So mind you, I told you they're in this dark street, but this man was sleeping with his window open and he overheard the commotion. So he comes out because he hears Denise yelling and screaming. And his name is Doug. So he comes out. Anyways, he comes out. He goes over to him, or he's yelling, telling him to stop, telling him to stop. Then he goes over to Stephani and like grabs him on his shoulder, and then Stephani turns around and tries to start stabbing him. This guy literally needs to stay in a mental, he needed to never come out. When Stephani turned on Doug was just like, F it, I'm gonna run inside and call for the cops to come. So Stephani obviously knew the cops were gonna come. He got in his car and dipped off. So Denise was stabbed 15 times in the head, the neck, the chest, the face. She had a punctured liver, a punctured lung, but she fought that motherfucker off. I'm telling you, she's a badass. All of those injuries, of course, she went to the doctor, she had surgery, pulled through it, soldier. So listen to this. This dude has a nerve to call again. Listen to it, listen.
I need an ambulance.
Where?
1505 Westminster.
1505
Yes,
Westminster. What's the problem?
I'm all cut up. I got beat up.
What's your apartment number?
208, I'm bleeding.
208. Where are you bleeding from?
From my arm, my face, my head.
Okay, so this, I'm sorry, makes me completely lose my shit. You get away somehow from the 24-hour surveillance that the cops had on your ass. And then, just so happens that an hour later, a female gets attacked. And then you're gonna call for assistance. Like I said, he should have never got out of the mental institution. I'm sorry, I messed that word up. But like, I'm not trying to be funny. Literally, if you think that is okay, normal, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you. So anyways, they arrest his ass, okay? He pleads not guilty. They have your voices. And he said, and I quote, "You're not gonna pin this on, or these on me." So anyways, they pulled a whole bunch of people that know him, pulled them in, had them listen to all of the recordings that he sent the cops. And for instance, his sister, in the middle of it, she took the headphones off because she didn't want to hear it anymore and just started sobbing. If that isn't guilt right there, freaking idiot. So anyways, he was locked up. Oh yeah, and get this, 1997, he gets diagnosed with terminal skin cancer. So now all of a sudden, he wants to talk to people and get his story out. You should have did it a long time ago.
She got in my car and I gave her my dragon pill. I said, the heat will be on in a minute. I had to clean some of the ice off the windshield. And then that's when she started telling me where she was from, in Wisconsin and all. And I says, hey, why don't you, I'm not even thinking about hurting her right now. I said, hey, why don't you let me show you downtown? I said, yeah, I want to show you something. There's really a nice view over here. And you see the nice river. I think I mentioned somebody you can probably have something to tell your parents about then. As I walked out of the car, I carried my knife with me. I had every intention to hurt him. We lay down in the grass, and I remember opening up her bra and everything, just feeling and stuff, and they just started stabbing her. Killing seemed to be the thing you were supposed to do. That was part of life. Driving the car was part of life. Eating food was part of life. To me, it seemed like killing was part of life until I did it, and then I drove away, and then I looked like the one on Pierce Better Road. What are you doing? And then I just couldn't turn myself in. That's why I kept getting on the phone. Will you catch me and stop me, or catch me, or something like that?
You say that you both got into the tub,
Yes.
and you're positive about that.
Yes. Because I mean, I remember when I pushed her head underwater, I could see her face.
Did you push her in by push her head down, or did you push her in the chest area under the water,
I
or
had her shoulders down.
you held her shoulders down? Both hands then?
Yeah.
So this makes it a 5th woman attacked. This one's in between Kimberly Compton and Barbara Simons. This lady, her name is Kathleen Greenan. She's 33 years old. And they had, you saw. So they had some suspicion. They looked up in her phone book, and there was a number under Paul S., which is Paul Michael Stephani. So Kathleen, her and her friend Carol Kellogg was gonna go on a trip on July 21st, 1982. And it's not like Kathleen to not be ready. She's always excited and ready to go on trips. So her friend goes to her house, knocks on the door, hears nothing, sees nothing. She goes into walks around into the rooms, and she sees her friend face up in the bathtub. Again, just another perspective. Can you imagine about to go on a trip with one of your best friends or your best friend, and you find her like that? So Paul Michael Stephani died in prison at the age of 53. It was in 1998. I think it was in June. He doesn't get any more recognition as far as I'm concerned. But isn't that creepy? That was so creepy, and makes me even more scared. But I hope you enjoyed that. If you want to see more stories on either serial killers or I'm thinking about doing one specifically from South Carolina since I live here. It'd be interesting. But if you want more of these videos, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys. Oh, and be careful out there. I know this was in the 80s, and I know this shit has changed. But be careful who you get in the freaking car with. Drunk or not. Thanks. Bye.